Howdy ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to my Friday React video. So we're going to go into something that I had near and dear to my heart, Forgotten Realms. So I recently learned a week ago, and I'm quite a few months late on this one, is they're coming out with a live action Forgotten Realms series on Netflix. Now, I'm cautious on this one. I won't lie. Netflix has not been putting out good products for a while now. They've gone completely into the DEI nonsense. And yeah, the products they've been putting out has not been great. I would be more accommodating if it was Amazon. Not to say Amazon's been perfect. I mean, Amazon put out Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is my favorite fantasy book series of all time, and they absolutely freaking destroyed it. Just buried it. It was just, I made it to episode 7 of the first season and I shut it off and I never looked at it again. And trust me, getting to episode 7 was an accomplishment in itself. It was a horrible, horrible series. And then there's also Galadriel, Ring of Power, that is terrible. So Amazon's not perfect, but at least on the flip side, Amazon has Fallout, which is just absolutely amazing. And the new season starts in a week or two, and I can't wait. I cannot wait. So, and they've announced Mass Effect, and there's even some rumor of RoboCop. So at least there's a glimmer of hope on Amazon. On Netflix, you got The Witcher, which is terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's horrendous. And I can't even think of other shows. Netflix has not been good for a while. But still, I love Forgotten Realms. It is the setting that I love the most. Now, I started D&D before Forgotten Realms was made. I started in Kryn and Greyhawk, and, I love D&D. I play D&D to this day. So I'm hopeful. I'll put it that way. I'm hopeful until I see them destroy it. So I found a 9-month-old video by the Drow historian who does, he's talking about all this. So I figure he knows more than me, so he can talk about it, and I'll jump in and, it is a React video, so I'll jump in and give you my 2 cents on the different areas. And yeah, so that's that.
A few weeks ago, I made a video casting The Legend of Drizzt, the Crystal Shard, completely unaware that a Forgotten Realms Netflix series was in the works. And it turns out I wasn't too far off, because they just announced a Dungeons & Dragons TV show set in the Forgotten Realms. And this raises a big question for all the fans out there. Will we finally get to see Drizzt Do'Urden in a live action series?
Okay, so right off the bat, I'll answer, no, you won't. I saw an interview with R.A. Salvatore, that's who wrote the Drizzt and everything, and he was asked this question. This is actually how I found out about the Forgotten Realms TV series. Nobody has talked to him or Ed Greenwood about writing for the TV series. So they are not involved in this. So you are not going to see Elminster, you are not going to see Drizzt, Katie Bry, Wulfgar, Brenner, Guinevere, any of them, So maybe in a separate episode or a separate series, he's going to talk in a bit about an animated series, and I think an animated would probably be better for Drizzt, honestly, especially when you get into the Dark Elf stuff, because the Dark Elf stuff is very mature. So do you want the hard R of the live action, or do you want to do the more mature of an animated? I think probably the more mature of an animated would be better. Just my own opinion. It's funny, the other day I was talking to my D&D group, and the DM, she was talking, well, you can't do it because, and she's talking about Drizzt and Katie Bry, and I'm like, the hell are you talking about? Like, she's 16 when he meets her, but the romance doesn't happen until she's like in her 20s. So I don't know, I think she was looking for a reason to object, because there's nothing in Drizzt that's untouchable. But the Drow society is very mature, very risque, very nude, even in the books. So you get into some of those orgies, and yeah, it's very adult content for the Drow society. So anyway, let's see what he has to say.
No matter how we look at it, this is huge news for D&D fans and especially the Legend of Drizzt readers. The Forgotten Realms is easily the most recognizable setting in all of D&D, and at this point it's their default setting, and it's home to some of the most legendary characters of all time. Here's what we know so far. The show is being developed by Netflix with Sean Levy producing. He's been involved with a million projects from a production side, but a couple you'll know that gives us some hope for a good outcome are Stranger Things and Deadpool and Wolverine. Drew Cavello is set as the writer and showrunner. He was involved with Deadpool 2, X-Men First Class, and The Grudge 2, and was the co-creator and co-writer for the show We Crashed. Maybe there's some hope there to get good writing in the show. It's described as a Forgotten Realms show, but there are no plot details yet, meaning we don't know if it's focusing on a particular story, a new narrative, or existing characters.
Okay, as I said, this video is 9 months old. We do know. It's, or at least we know Driz, Elmister, the creations of R.A. Salvatore and of Ed Greenwood, they will not be in this series. So chances are it's going to be new characters, would be my guess.
But everything I can find says live action and not animated. I know there are many of us who would love to have an animated Drizzt series following the Dark Elf trilogy, and I think this should give you hope of that possibility. If Netflix gets involved in the Forgotten Realms and has some success, we'd likely see more shows come from it. Hasbro has shown that they want to expand Dungeons & Dragons into film and television after the success of Honor Among Thieves. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I
didn't like it.
Actually did like it.
I did not like Honor Among Thieves. My problem with it is it was too much comedy. I don't watch D&D for comedy. Like you can have some laugh tracks or not tracks, but laughs in there from the characters, but the story itself, I don't watch for comedy. And that was the problem with Honor Among Thieves. It was a comedy first, it was a fantasy movie second. I did not like the show. I have no problem saying that. And if they make a TV series off of Honor of Thieves or off the same style, I'm probably not going to like it either, because I'm not looking for 2025, 2026 comedy. I want fantasy. Like, this looks amazing to me. This I would be all in for. But there's nothing funny about this. Like the two greatest fantasy, well, I'm going to say franchises rather than films, because it was Lord of the Rings 1, 2, and 3, but also Lady Hawk. These are the go-to movies for fantasy for me. And they're not comedies. And I don't want to see comedies for D&D. It's just that simple.
And I think it's not a bad start compared to the really bad D&D movies we got in the past. So this show could be a completely original story. It could be a bunch of various tales from the Forgotten Realms, or it could be an adaptation that we're actually looking for, like the story of Drizzt or Elminster. Probably not, but it's a possibility. Before we talk about Drizzt's chances in this new show, we need to talk about something really interesting. Drizzt was supposed to appear in Honor Among Thieves and was cut at the last minute. According to producer Jeremy Latcham, the original plan was for Zenk the Paladin, played by Roger John Page, to actually be Drizzt. Wizards of the Coast even pushed for this, but in his own words, there was some controversy around Drizzt, and we were like, we might not want to be in the middle of that controversy, so let's take Drizzt out of the movie. Not only that, but Menza Berenzon itself was originally planned to appear, and it was changed to a more generic Underdark city that we saw in the film. But now that Dungeons & Dragons is expanding into TV, does this change things at all? I think it does. Now that we've had some time to digest the changes we've seen to Drow and D&D recently, and the wealth of story they have to pull from on Drizzt, I think it's more unlikely that we wouldn't see him.
Okay, again, 9-month-old video, so he's wrong. We won't see Driz. I don't like the changes to Drow in D&D. As I said, I play D&D. D&D right now is so dead set on making everybody a goodie, a PG-G setting. And as I explained, Mizbonian Drow society in the books, it was a hard R. There is nothing PG about it. And Drow are evil. Orcs are evil. They're not family unit, lovey-dovey, rah-rah-rah. Like, this is what I don't like about modern D&D, is there is races out there that are predominantly evil, and they should remain evil. Driz works so well because he was that one outlier. He was the exception. But if you make the entire society goody-goodies, well, suddenly Driz is meaningless. What made him special is, who cares? Everybody's good. And I don't like what D&D's doing about that.
actually makes way more sense for the Legend of Drizzt than a movie ever would. I covered a lot of this in my casting video, but I think a series focused around Drizzt would kill, and I do think it could be done well. A series like this allows for long-form storytelling, meaning Drizzt's development wouldn't feel rushed. We could see him make an appearance in a Forgotten Realms story, and that would be enough to get an outpouring of fan demand for the real deal. The rise of big-budget TV, House of the Dragon, The Witcher, Rings of Power, shows there's an audience for deep, lore-heavy narratives. I know a lot of you hate these shows, but I like many of them, and I would rather see something attempted than wait till I'm dead for them to make a Drizzt TV show. Drizzt is one of the most recognizable characters in the entire franchise. If Netflix and Hasbro want this show to compete with modern fantasy TV, Drizzt is the best way to make that happen. So this is most likely not going to be a direct adaptation of the Dark Elf trilogy. If anything, this show is likely set in modern Forgotten Realms continuity, meaning Drizzt's story has already progressed far beyond his origins. Thanks to Ari Salvatore's most recent short story from October 2024, we know that the current in-world date is at least 1505 DR. That means Drizzt is already trained with Grandmaster Cain to be a monk, the Avendrow city of Caladay has been discovered, the world is well past major historical events like the Spell Plague and the Sundering. The show could do a throwback to an earlier period, maybe the Time of Troubles or even the Spell Plague, but I bet they keep it in the current Forgotten Realms time to align with modern D&D lore. If they do include Drizzt, here is a realistic way that could happen. The show focuses on a different main storyline, but introduces Drizzt as a legendary figure. He appears as a side character in key moments, maybe even as a mentor or mythic warrior. If this happens, fan demand would skyrocket, making a dedicated Legend of Drizzt show much more likely. And
I won't lie, I would love a dedicated Legend of Drizzt show, but I only want it if it's done properly. And one of my complaints is Hollywood refuses to treat source material properly anymore. Like I said, Wheel of Time, it was an absolute abomination what they did to those books. The Witcher, absolute abomination. Rings of Galadriel, absolute abomination. So I love Drizzt. I love all of the books. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. Once he, I forget the name of it now, but when he hit the orc, the Brenner and Katie Bryan Wolfgar were out, and it was Drizzt with the orcs, and I didn't really care for those stories after that. I read them, but I liked the earlier stuff. And I would love to see the Crystal Shard and the Dark Elf trilogy and all of those books done, but only if they're done properly, respectfully, properly. I've had it with Hollywood destroying stuff I love. Just do it properly. And I guarantee you that's what the fans want. And there is enough fans out there that you don't need to worry about casuals. This is what my complaint was with Wheel of Time, is you didn't need to worry about casuals. You had 10 million fans of that Wheel of Time book series that all wanted to be invested in your show. So all you had to do was make a show that appeased the 10 million book fans, and you have a hit on your hands. Instead, they changed everything, they bastardized everything, and they lost the book fans, they did not bring in the casuals, and the show got canceled. All because some hack writer thought he knew better than Robert Jordan, the creator. And you see it in The Witcher, the same thing. You see it in Tolkien's Rings of Power, that I call Rings of Galadriel. Just respect the source material. You do that and you will make the fans happy, and there is enough fan following, more than enough fan following, to give you a super smash hit. And you're still going to pull in some casuals because the word of mouth is going to be so good. But if you piss off the established fans, well, the word of mouth is not going to be good, and the casuals are even going to tune out. I just saw The Witcher Season 4. Season 1, they started with 50 million male fans and 27 million female fans watching the first 4 hours of The Witcher in Season 1. Season 4, it's down to, I think it was 1.5 million male fans and 1 million female fans watched it. Pretty big drop, huh? That's because they won't follow the lore, they won't respect the source material, and the people tuned out.
I think this is the most likely scenario we'd see. I think if they ignore Drizzt again, this is going to hurt the show's chance to succeed. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see Elminster, but if Drizzt isn't in the Forgotten Realms show, it would make no sense and it would piss everyone off. The biggest question is how much lore accuracy Netflix will stick to. Are they making this for D&D fans, or is this another case of Hollywood loosely adapting the source material? We will never be pleased if we want it perfectly matching our strict expectations, but if we have well-versed advisors and great writing that tells a good story, this can be an awesome show. So what do you think? Is this the moment? Are we going to get Drizzt, or are we setting ourselves up for disappointment?
I'm very hesitant. Like, he's right. If you're expecting a line-by-line adaptation, you're always going to be disappointed. But Game of Thrones proved you don't need to do a line-by-line adaptation. You just have to treat the source material respectfully and just be honest about it, and the fans will follow. Now Game of Thrones ran out of source material, and that's where their downfall came, is because the writers that were so good at adapting the source material, turns out they weren't very good at writing their own material. But as long as they were adapting the source material, it wasn't identical, because the books are too big to be identical. But it was faithful, it was honest, it was respectful. But then you go to Wheel of Time, and they just crapped all over the source. You go to The Witcher, the first season was pretty good. After that, they just crapped on the source material. And that is my fear with Netflix, is Netflix does not have a good track record of treating source material respectfully. They really don't. So I'm very hesitant. I will tune in when it comes out. Do I last more than 2 episodes? We'll see. But you're not going to see Drizzt, because R.A. Salvatore himself said he has never been notified or consulted. So Drizzt is his character. Even if it is owned by Wizards of the Coast, it's still his character, and he's still got rights. So if he's not being consulted at all, that means those characters are not in the story. And it's the same for Ed Greenwood. Elminster's not going to be there. So we know that, and maybe they change their mind at a later date and bring him in, because I agree with them. There will be an outcry for it, because Drizzt is the most famous D&D Forgotten Realms character, and Elminster is right up there with him. Not quite as high as Drizzt, but he's up there. So it wouldn't be surprised if they did cameos at least, but we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm going to be very hesitant, not because it's Forgotten Realms, but because it's Netflix. Netflix does not have a good track record, and yeah, we'll have to wait and see. What I personally expect is it's going to be a G to PG product, and I'm probably not going to last more than 2 episodes, because I'm not interested in family friendly. I'm really not. I like dark fantasy. I love the Dark Elf trilogy because it was dark fantasy. I have no interest in G or PG. None whatsoever. So if that's what they're going to give us, where everybody's a goodie and everybody's hugging and everybody's singing Kumbala and it's all a comedy skit, click, I'm off. So we'll see.
Personally, I think this is their chance to introduce Drizzt to the greater world. And I think if that goes well, a faithful adaptation of The Crystal Shard could be one of the greatest fantasy shows ever made. I choose to believe that this can be done well, and if it isn't, that's still okay. We have nearly 40 years of awesome writing from Salvatore that no one can take away from us. Let's talk in the comments. Do you think we'll see Drizzt in the Forgotten Realms series? And if we do, who should play him? If you love The Legend of Drizzt, make sure to subscribe, because I'll be keeping up with all the news as it develops.
So there you go. That is the announcement. There will be a Forgotten Realms live action TV series on Netflix. As I said, how good will it be? I don't know. I can't answer that. We'll have to wait till it comes out. It won't be coming out till next year sometime. But yeah, I mean, I'm hesitantly hopeful. I always go in hopeful until I'm disappointed. But I can't pretend that Netflix has a good record on this stuff. So we shall see. But then again, Hollywood is moving away from DEI and all that crap. So maybe we'll get a good product. I don't know. We'll just have to sit back and see. So that's my video for this week. If you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And just as a side note, if you like talking about Drow. I have just started. I used to play a game called Neverwinter Nights on AOL in 1991 to 1997. And I played a Drow character. And the matron mother, Maverlin, she recently gave me all of the writings that we did for roleplay. So there's some of my writings, some of my friend Rich's writings, and then everybody in the guild, their writings, and it's all Drow based. So if you are interested in that, hit the description of this video and I will link to the first episode of that. And yeah, maybe you will find, like, I'm not a voice actor or anything, so I'm not the greatest reader in the world, but maybe you will find some entertainment from it, some appreciation of it. I mean, I'm reading these stories, and as I keep saying in the videos, it's like we were not professional writers, but I think some of these stories are absolute home runs. Just knock it out of the park home runs on Drow society and Drow roleplay. So yeah, take a look. Maybe you might enjoy it. Give it a try. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.